Super Carlin Brothers is sponsored by BetterHelp. 26% of Americans recently surveyed have avoided seeking mental health support due to fear of being judged. Let's break the stigma surrounding seeking support. We're all better with help. Visit betterhelp.com/super today for 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/super. What if Ron's wand didn't break? Hey, brother! Today's question is, what would have happened if Ron's wand didn't break when they crashed into the Whomping Willow? My wand. Poor Ron started out at Hogwarts with red hair and hand-me-down robes, dirt on his nose, corned beef sandwiches. His mom always forgets how much he hates those. I mean, how hard is it to remember chocolate frogs and peanut butter? But worst of all, Ron starts Hogwarts with a second-hand wand. And not just a second-hand wand, but possibly the worst combination of core and wood for a second-hand wand. Ash and unicorn hair. Nothing innately wrong with this combination. In fact, it makes for a very fine wand. But as they say, the wand chooses the wizard, and that wand did not choose Ron. It chose his older brother, Charlie, who I can only imagine harvested his own dragon heartstring and then turned that into a wand, hence why he passed along his. But of course we know, and a huge plot point in the Harry Potter saga, is that wands can change allegiances and choose new masters, but different kinds of wands are more prone to this than others. The Elder Wand, for example, is very fickle, changing masters based on hearsay and rumors about things that happen to other wands miles away at Malfoy Manor. Elder Wand is a bit of a gossip, is what I'm trying to tell you guys. XOXO, Elder Wand. It was Dan the whole time, come on! Yeah, we've watched Gossip Girl. Ron's first wand, though, not fickle, not even a little. Here's what it says about Ash wands in the Pottermore archives. The Ash wand cleaves to its one true master and ought not to be passed on or gifted from the original owner because it will lose power and skill. This tendency is extreme if the core is of unicorn. I like how it just says of unicorn and not like unicorn hair, meaning that like maybe we could be using like unicorn throat to make a wand. I don't know why I chose, why my throat? That was other things too.
Curious.
Point is, though, that Ron's wand was made of unicorn. Then, even though it's already as bad as it can be, Ron goes and breaks his wand the day before his second year starts and has to go through the entire second year with a non-functioning, poorly suited wand.
Weasley's wand causes devastation with the simplest spells. We'll be sending Potter to the hospital wing in a matchbox.
What did he say?
What I'm really trying to say, though, is Molly. Come on, I know he stole the car and stuff, but this is a year-long setback for the guy. And yet, the fact that Ron's wand is broken goes on to play a pretty vital role in the history of, what? The entire world?
Obviously.
Based on my delivery there, it kind of sounded like that was ridiculous, but actually it is true. Because Ron's backfiring wand is all that ends up saving Harry and Ron from losing their memories in the Chamber of Secrets to Lockhart.
And, Who am I?
Who am I, Hedwig?
If he succeeds, then what? Harry, the chosen one Potter, loses his mind, Ginny dies, Tom Riddle comes back, the Basilisk lives, Hogwarts closes, Gilderoy Lockhart pens another bestseller and wins Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award for the 6th time?
But I don't talk about that.
I gotta tell you guys that a lot of the plot is hanging on Ron's wand. So I ask again, what if Ron's wand never broke? Yo, we need to take a brief pause right there to say thanks to today's sponsor, Shopify. I remember the early days of YouTubering, which now that I say it sounds an awful lot like it has something to do with potatoes.
Luckily, I'm a botanist.
There was enough for me personally to try and handle. Sitting down in front of a camera for the first time, learning how to edit, heck, even just finding my voice. What's up, Jay? I'm Ben. I am the other half of SuperCarlinBrothers. If you go back and watch the first video, that's what it looks like. But then as those things started to become more second nature, the rest of running a small business started to rear its head, figuring out things like merchandise, human resources, finances, and of course, running an online store. Enter Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States from household names like Mattel and Carlin Brothers Mercantile to brands that are just getting their start. Shopify can help you get the word out like you have a whole marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your business into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/SCB. That's shopify.com/SCB. One last time for safety, shopify.com/SCB. Link in the description down below. Cha-ching! Okay, let's revisit the scene in question, shall we? The one where Ron actually breaks the wand. As I'm sure you will recall, it starts with platform 9 3/4 being blocked by old Dobbert, and Harry and Ron stealing the car and flying to Hogwarts. Then, with the worst timing ever, the car starts to lose its gumption about 100 yards away from its destination, as they always do. Yeah, that is, before just quickly coming back to life and reclaiming said gumption to roam the forest endlessly, I guess? Where was the Anglia during the Battle of Hogwarts? Can you imagine if Voldemort stood up after Avada Kedavraing Harry and then just got T-boned by the car out of nowhere? Comic relief would have been there. I mean, it would have shifted the mood of the scene entirely, to be certain, but I'm here for it. I'm off track already though. The point is, it couldn't fly another 100 yards at the worst possible time. Ron is magically unlucky or something. But during that moment of weakness, Ron gets out his wand and tries helplessly to stop the car from crashing into the ground or, a super violent tree, because come on, that's what they ran into? Needless to say, the wand breaks. My wand. Whop! Come on, Whomping Willow, read the room. Fun fact, Ron's second wand, the wand that actually chooses him, is a, wait for it, willow wand. Is that a coincidence? I somehow doubt it.
I think not.
Maybe the car wasn't faulting at all. Maybe the Whomping Willow was choosing Ron in this moment. There you go, not a theory that I planned on, but one that just cropped up in the course of research. So you're welcome. The car didn't come to life, it's just being driven around by bowtruckles. All the better than if it just smashed into Voldemort later, he was defeated by stick bugs. Anyway, Ron is left with a broken wand that, at the very least, in the movie, lets him turn Scabbers into a cup, which is hilarious when you realize that Peter was momentarily a goblet, which I consider an improvement. But wait a second, is that why it didn't work? Because he wasn't actually turning a rat into a goblet, but a man. How does this what if just keep blowing my mind? Because that would be far more advanced transfiguration, and he's almost got it.
That wand needs replacing, Mr. Weasley.
Does it, McGonagall? Does it? Does it? It's pretty good if you ask me. I mean, Crumb is a Triwizard champion, and he only turns half of himself into a shark. Ron got most of Peter Pettigrew into a cup as a second year with a broken wand that doesn't love him.
I figured you'd love me, Joe.
In any case, while we know that Ron's broken wand leads Lockhart astray, and that's a big moment in history, it's also possible that if Ron never broke his wand, that situation wouldn't even arise in the first place. Because there is one other big moment for Ron's wand this year, which is when he attempts to curse Malfoy for calling Hermione a mudblood.
Eat slugs!
Usually this curse totally backfires and hits Ron instead, forcing him to belch up the slugs instead, but clearly the spell worked as intended, just not as directed, meaning if the wand was whole, it would be Malfoy belching up the slugs. An outcome that I think we can all agree would have been way more fair given the circumstances. But also, had that happened, I think we can be pretty sure that Ron would have netted himself even more detention than he already had for damaging the Whomping Willow. But I suppose there is also a chance that he gets, dare I say it, expelled for this?
Or worse, expelled.
Not now, Hermione. You might think not, but Dumbledore does tell him this on the first night of term. But I must impress upon both of you the seriousness of what you have done. I will be writing to both your families tonight. I must also warn you that if you do anything like this again, I will have no choice but to expel you. Yeah, that's right. Malfoy belches slugs and Ron gets expelled. It's a Kind of a disappointing overall win for Malfoy. Except no, obviously not. Dumbledore is not about to expel Harry's best friend over almost anything, especially reverse feeding Draco what he deserves. But there is another consequence of Ron hitting Draco with the slugs, which is that Ron then won't belch up the slugs when he is polishing the trophies for detention. Because Filch made me polish his shield about 50 times in detention, said Ron resentfully. That was the one I burped slugs all over. If you'd wipe slime off a name for an hour, you'd remember it too. And that particular trophy was for T.M. Riddle and his special services to the school 50 years ago. And it's this tiny bit of information that excites Hermione and helps her connect the dots that T.M. Riddle possibly got his award for catching whoever opened the Chamber of Secrets the first time. These are important slugs, people. It's the break that Harry needed to start trying to learn more about Riddle because so far the trail has gone cold on the culprit behind the chamber. But they find the diary pretty soon after Christmas break, after visiting Cat Hermione in the infirmary one night. But Hermione doesn't connect these dots for them until after she gets out of the hospital wing on the 1st of February. So to recap, Hermione is like out of school for like a full month for the cat situation and then like another half a semester for the petrification situation. So she really missed like a lot of year 2. That's because if Hermione's around, the plot happens a lot faster because she's really smart.
How could I be so stupid?
That time does just sort of get glossed over in the book, but it means that Harry has and does nothing with the diary for about a month, but starts carrying it around again after they revisit the trophy room, hoping to learn its secrets, which he eventually does on Valentine's Day when he gets Ginny's musical message. His eyes are as green as a fresh pickled toad. You know, once you know Ginny better in like the later books, it's starting to feel like Fred and George definitely had something to do with that poem. Either way, hearing the message causes Harry to drop his bag and spill ink on the diary and reveal to Ginny that Harry has the diary, which prompts her to steal it back. But all of that to say, without Ron's wand breaking, Hermione does not make the connection, thus re-sparking Harry's interest in the diary and its connection to Tom Riddle, and thus no reason for Harry to carry it around and no reason for Ginny to know who ended up with it. So the chamber just remains closed then. Right? Like, no more petrifications and life goes back to normal. Well, yes and no. Obviously, there would not be any attack since they're specifically being caused by Ginny being taken over by the diary. But in the very next chapter, Fudge and Malfoy arrive to arrest Hagrid and remove Dumbledore from the school. So that's still not good news. And what's worse is that it will look like this maneuver worked in terms of stopping the attack since they will also stop. So that's not good either, right? Like Dumbledore is just gone, like for good from the school? Obviously not, except don't forget that at the end of the year, the Mandrake potions will be ready and the victims of the Basilisk will then be revived and then everyone can find out who and what actually attacked them.
It was Birdie.
No, it was a Basilisk. And Ginny Weasley. That's right, Ginny is expelled and has her wand snapped and lives out the rest of her years as Hagrid's assistant.
Sorry about that.
Except also no, because she would then reveal the information about the diary and Harry would be like, hey, I have that diary. And then Dumbledore would be like, of course you do. It's always you, Harry.
To Mr. Harry Potter, I award 60 points.
No, from there he would obviously investigate it and figure out what it was and probably destroy it and the Basilisk to boot. So, yay, we still learn about horcruxes and get rid of Tom Riddle, and neither Hermione nor Penelope ever gets attacked, nor do those 2 hand mirrors. Lockhart, well, I guess he just gets away. He would never have tried to flee because Ginny never would have been taken, but I doubt Dumbledore rehires him. Although to that point, Dumbledore seems to be keenly aware of what Lockhart is up to anyway. He tried to do a memory charm, and the wand backfired, Ron explained quietly to Dumbledore. Dear me, said Dumbledore, shaking his head, his long silver mustache quivering. Impaled upon your own sword, Gilderoy. So possibly he just turns him in such a way that doesn't erase his memory forever, or else he's just still out there selling books. I suspect Gladys Gudgeon remains a fan, either way. But speaking of swords, perhaps the biggest loss of the situation is that Harry will not end up retrieving the Sword of Gryffindor while battling the Basilisk. A problem that is certainly doomed to come up later on because without the Basilisk venom in the sword, how are we going to destroy the other horcruxes? Well, obviously Dumbledore is the one who destroys the ring with the sword in the first place and realizes its utility, but almost certainly he'd find a way to destroy it even if he didn't have the sword, right? He'd have had to kill the Basilisk somehow and have destroyed the diary as well, and as we all know, those things are pretty useful at this exact task. So it's pretty possible that he just harvested a bunch and tells Harry about how to use them much earlier. We're like literally like cutting whole books off the end of the series at this point, you know? It's like, how much plot is wrapped up in this one problem? But then what about Nagini, I hear you say? How would Neville kill her if they don't have the sword? Well, the good news is, as long as Voldemort puts the hat on Neville's head and things go down as usual, Neville can and still will pull the sword. That's just how the hat and the sword work. It's always my favorite piece of wordplay, like the sorting hat, the sword in hat, you know? Like, it's right there. It would certainly be a lot more surprising to us, the reader, when he just produces an unknown sword out of nowhere, but it would still work. But you may be saying there's still the issue of not having the basilisk venom. But again, this is not the problem you think it is, because better news, the sword is still very sharp and will definitely still cut through Nagini's head. Until you remember that Nagini seemed to be an awfully nice woman once upon a time and like just really had no business, maybe in the wrong place at the wrong time and got manipulated by like an evil dark lord. And like, fuck, did Neville commit murder? Only there was like 2 more movies that could have given us like a more satisfying answer for that. Either way, this will destroy the Horcrux because unlike the more treasure-based Horcruxes, Nagini is alive and you need only to destroy the container to destroy the Horcrux, and dying counts as destruction. It's literally what happens to the Horcrux inside of Harry in the forest. Boom! Funny. So, if Ron's wand doesn't break, Lockhart doesn't lose his memory, and Harry doesn't kill the Basilisk with the sword, but all of the rest of the information is still ultimately revealed. But Ron never gets a new wand. Meaning everyone goes on to believe that he's actually just a squib born to a pure blood family and he's rejected from society and doesn't become a part of the story henceforth. No, I'm absolutely kidding. Actually meaning that he is stuck with the Ash Wand for the rest of the series, but perhaps not all hope is lost there, because while it's never stated, it's often theorized that Neville's initial wand, which was his father's, is made of ash as well, and it's part of what's holding him back for so long. Despite that though, after 5 full years of education and a healthy dose of motivation, Neville does master his first wand before losing it at the Battle of the Department of Mysteries. So if it was Ash, it can be done. And there you go. That's what would have happened if Ron didn't break his wand. I suppose the car and Aragog are just out there in the forest, undiscovered, probably makes the funeral a bit more shocking in year 6. Honestly, Harry's probably more empathetic to Hagrid's situation in that moment because he's like, oh man, you lost your friend. It never tried to eat me. Hagrid, we are here for you. I'm so sorry to hear about your friend. We've baked you a lasagna. Holy crap, is that a spider? The books probably would have sold differently. Y'all, as always, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Be sure to like it if you haven't already, and subscribe so you don't miss any future Harry Potter what if action from us. If you want to see our entire saga about what would have happened if Harry had been sorted into Slytherin, you can do so right over here. But otherwise, until next time, bye! And don't forget to eat cheese.